Like when a deadline is like right around the corner and you're not even close to finishing a project.
Oh, yeah,
That pressure to like prove you're actually working hard, it can be intense.
for sure.
That's what's happening right now in the federal government. And believe it or not, Elon Musk is right at the center of it all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're diving deep into this whole story that started with an email. It seemed simple enough at first. A request for federal employees to list everything they accomplished the previous week.
Oh.
But here's the thing. This directive didn't come from like some random government agency. It came straight from Elon Musk.
Really?
Yeah. In his roles as presidential advisor and head of the Department of Government Efficiency.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's a lot more than just paperwork, though.
I bet.
We're talking potential job losses,
Yeah.
power struggles between agencies in the White House, even a lawsuit alleging massive employment fraud.
Seriously?
It's a tangled web, for sure. Luckily, we have our expert here to help us sort it all out.
Happy to help.
So to understand this, we need to look at the bigger picture. President Trump issued this executive order mandating all federal employees return to in-person office work.
Right.
And the message was pretty clear. Comply, or your job might be on the line.
Yeah.
Here's President Trump himself defending this stance and Elon Musk's involvement. Plays audio clip of President Trump saying, I think it was actually, there was a lot of genius in sending it. We're trying to find out if people are working, and so we're sending a letter to people. Please tell us what you did last week. If people don't respond, it's very possible that there is no such person or they're not working. The president definitely sees this as like a strategic move. Can you give us some background on these government spending overhauls and like what exactly they're trying to do?
Well, the timing is really fascinating. This email and the executive order right before it are happening while there are these major government spending overhauls. Like, we've seen significant cuts to different federal programs, and thousands of federal employees have been laid off. Yeah, and those who support these cuts, they often talk about government bloat, saying that streamlining saves taxpayer money and makes the government more responsive to its citizens.
So it's not just about this one email requesting accomplishments. It's part of a larger strategy to like trim the fat and increase efficiency.
Exactly.
But let's zoom in on that email itself. It was sent by the Office of Professional Management, and they wanted those accomplishment reports within just a few days. Why such a tight deadline?
Well, that's where Elon Musk's leadership style comes in. You know, as the head of this newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, he's known for being direct and really emphasizing rapid results. He really believes in cutting through red tape and streamlining things.
So this email with its super short deadline, that seems to reflect that.
It does.
But it's definitely raising eyebrows and causing a lot of debate. Not everyone's on board with this method of measuring productivity, especially with the potential consequences.
Yeah.
What are some of the strongest arguments against this kind of approach, especially from people within the government?
Well, critics are saying that demanding a list of accomplishments in such a short time, it's just not an accurate or fair way to measure productivity. You know, especially in jobs where you can't easily measure the output. They point out that a lot of government jobs are complex and nuanced. The impact might not be immediately obvious.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, there's this worry that it's creating a climate of fear and anxiety. Like, it could lead to burnout and hurt morale among federal workers.
So it's not just hypothetical concerns, right?
Yeah.
We're already seeing pushback from agencies. What's been the reaction so far?
It's been pretty strong. The FBI director, for instance, he told his staff not to do what the email asked, citing concerns about data privacy and potential misuse of the information. And we're seeing similar concerns from the Pentagon and other agencies, too. But I think the most telling sign is this website called We Are the Builders.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a platform where current and former federal employees can share their stories anonymously about how these events are impacting them in their work.
Wow. That's a strong sign of the unease and discontent among federal workers. It seems this efficiency drive is hitting some serious roadblocks. What are some of the specific concerns being shared on that website?
A lot of the stories talk about the human cost of all of this, the stress and uncertainty that federal workers are facing on top of already having to go back to the office after years of working remotely.
Yeah, it's a big adjustment.
Some people are saying they feel devalued and demoralized, like their experience and dedication to public service are being ignored. They're saying that focusing on short-term measurable results, that undermines the long-term value and impact of their work.
It's not just about numbers and deadlines then. It's about the impact on real people and their sense of purpose and value.
Exactly.
But it goes beyond just dissatisfaction. There's a legal challenge brewing too, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about this lawsuit and the arguments they're making.
Right. So the State Democracy Defenders Fund, They filed this lawsuit saying this whole situation is massive employment fraud. And their argument focuses on that part of the email from the Office of Professional Management that said, if you don't respond, it's considered a resignation.
Oh, wow.
They're saying it was a deliberate attempt to create an excuse for mass firings under the guise of efficiency.
So they're claiming it wasn't really a request for information. It was a threat to force people out.
Exactly.
That adds another layer of complexity to this whole thing. It seems like there's this growing tension between getting measurable results and the potential consequences for individual workers.
Absolutely. And it's not just happening in the federal government either. You see it across different industries as technology changes how we work.
That's a great point. This story, even though it's about the federal government, it seems to be a reflection of a bigger trend. It makes you think about how we define and measure productivity, especially in a world that's so focused on data and algorithms.
It definitely does.
We've been talking about this whole situation with federal workers and Elon Musk and this drive for government efficiency. And it's clear it's not just about a single email or that executive order. There's something bigger going on here.
You're absolutely right. This situation, it kind of reflects this whole debate we're having about the role of government, the value of public service, and how we even measure success in a world that's obsessed with numbers and data.
Yeah, it's like this constant tug of war between different priorities. On one hand, you've got those who believe the government's gotten way too big and inefficient. What are their main arguments for this efficiency crackdown?
Well, they often point to examples of wasted government money, redundant programs and a lack of accountability among federal workers. They say streamlining cutting programs and demanding measurable results, that's going to save taxpayer dollars, and it'll make the government more responsive to the people.
It's a perspective that definitely appeals to people who want a smaller government and fiscal responsibility. But as we've said, there's the other side of the story, the human cost.
Exactly. Critics say this push for efficiency, it's just a way to undermine dedicated public servants. They point out that many federal employees are already overworked and underpaid. And this whole pressure cooker environment is just going to lead to burnout, low morale, and a decline in the quality of government services. They say valuing experience and expertise over just numbers, that's crucial for a strong and effective public sector.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's about recognizing that not every valuable contribution can be summed up in a weekly report. And we can't forget about the potential for things to backfire.
That's a really important point. What happens when you don't have enough people for essential services, or when experienced employees are driven away by a bad work environment? This pursuit of efficiency above all else, it could end up hurting the quality and effectiveness of important government functions.
It's like walking a tightrope. This situation brings up serious questions about how we balance the need for efficiency with the well-being and morale of the people who are supposed to be serving the public good.
Exactly. And this isn't just a government problem either. We see similar trends in all sorts of industries as technology reshapes how we work. This emphasis on making decisions based on data, while it can be good in some ways, it also comes with risks. We have to think about the potential consequences for people and for the quality of the work itself.
So if we look beyond this specific situation with federal workers, what are the wider implications for the future of work in general?
Well, I think it highlights a fundamental challenge we face in this increasingly automated and data-driven world. How do we balance the need for efficiency and measurable outcomes with the human element of work? How do we value things like creativity, innovation, and critical thinking? Those things might not be easy to measure, but they're still essential for success.
Are we sacrificing long-term quality and innovation just to get short-term gains in efficiency?
That's the risk we need to be aware of. If we get too fixated on metrics and data points, we risk creating a work environment that stifles creativity and discourages people from taking risks. And ultimately, that leads to lower quality work.
So it's not about replacing humans with machines. It's about using technology to help us do our jobs better and create a better work experience.
Right. Technology can be a great tool for personal and professional growth if we use it the right way.
That brings up a good point. How can we make sure these technologies are developed and used ethically, with a focus on human well-being and not just maximizing profit or output?
That's where communication and collaboration are key. We need open and honest discussions between the people developing the technology, policymakers, business leaders, and the workers themselves to set ethical guidelines and ensure that technology benefits everyone. It's also important to promote digital literacy and critical thinking skills so people can engage thoughtfully with these technologies and advocate for their own needs and interests.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but also about our values and ethical frameworks. We need to make sure technology reflects our shared human values.
Exactly. We need to ask ourselves what kind of future we want to build. Do we want a future where technology controls us and dehumanizes us, or one where it helps us reach our full potential as individuals and as a society?
It's a choice we have to make together, and it's a choice that will have a huge impact on the future of work and for all of humanity.
I completely agree. The future isn't set in stone. It's something we're building right now with the choices we make.
As we head into the final part of our deep dive, I think it's time to shift our focus from the challenges to potential solutions. How can we make sure human values and well-being are at the heart of the future of work?
It's a complex question with no easy answers, but I think the key is realizing that technology should be there to help us, not the other way around.
That's a powerful statement.
Um,
What would that look like in reality? How can we create systems and processes that put both efficiency and human values first?
It starts by acknowledging that data and metrics have limits. We need to remember that not everything that matters can be easily measured or counted. We also need to ensure that technology complements and enhances what humans can do, rather than just replacing us.
So instead of seeing technology as a threat to jobs, we should be thinking about how it can free us from the boring stuff and let us focus on more meaningful and creative work.
Exactly. Technology can be a powerful tool for improving efficiency and productivity, but we have to make sure it's used ethically and responsibly, with a focus on making people's lives better, not just getting the most output.
That's a really important point. As we move into the last segment of our deep dive, let's explore how we can create a future of work that is both efficient and human, a future where technology helps us reach our full potential. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been really digging into this situation with federal workers and Elon Musk and this whole push for government efficiency. And it's clear this story goes way beyond just Washington, D.C.
Definitely. It really gets at some fundamental questions about the future of work. How do we balance efficiency and productivity with human values, creativity, and well-being?
We've talked about the potential problems with an overly data-driven approach to work. The one that risks sacrificing quality, innovation, and employee morale just to get those measurable outcomes. But how about we switch gears now? How
Yeah.
can we use technology in a way that actually helps people and supports their needs and aspirations?
That's a challenge that requires a real shift in how we think about. Instead of just seeing technology as a way to increase output and efficiency, what if we saw it as a way to empower people, enhance creativity, and give them a sense of purpose at work?
Can you give us some examples of what that might actually look like?
Sure. Imagine a workplace where AI helps out with those routine tasks. The ones that take up so much time. That would free up human employees to focus on strategic thinking, solving problems, and coming up with new ideas. Or think about how virtual reality and augmented reality could be used to create training programs that are more engaging and immersive, that could lead to a workforce that's more skilled and adaptable.
So it's not about replacing humans with machines. It's more about using technology to help people do their jobs better and have a more fulfilling work experience.
Exactly. Technology can be a really powerful tool for growth, both personally and professionally, if we use it intentionally and thoughtfully.
That brings up a good point, though.
Oh.
How do we make sure these technologies are developed and used ethically, with a focus on people's well-being and not just making a profit or getting the most output?
That's where it's crucial to have those open conversations between the people who are developing the technology, policymakers, business leaders, and the workers themselves. We need to establish ethical guidelines and make sure technology is being used for good. It's also important to promote digital literacy and critical thinking skills so that everyone can engage thoughtfully with these technologies and advocate for their own needs and interests.
It sounds like it's not just about technological advancements, but also about our values as a society. We need to make sure technology reflects our shared human values.
Absolutely. We have to ask ourselves what kind of future we want. Do you want one where technology controls us and dehumanizes us, or one where it helps us achieve our full potential as individuals and as a society?
It's a choice we all have to make together, and it's one that will have a big impact on the future of work and for humanity as a whole.
I couldn't agree more. The future isn't predetermined. It's something we're actively shaping with every choice we make.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listeners with a call to action. What can people do, regardless of their job or background, to help shape a more human-centered and fulfilling future of work?
I encourage everyone to get involved in these conversations. Talk to your coworkers, friends, and family about how technology is affecting your work and your lives. Stay informed about new technologies and what they could mean for us. And most importantly, speak up for policies and practices that prioritize well-being, ethical considerations, and a vision of technology that truly serves humanity.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We hope this deep dive has given you some insights and perspectives to consider as we navigate this ever-changing world of work and technology. Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.